Hi everyone. So this month I decided to try to get through more books that I have, physical books that I have. Try to get through them. So I went and I signed back up to Scribed because I wasn't listening to audiobooks for a while. So I'm like, what's the point of having them take money out of my account every month if I'm not using it? It just seems pretty stupid to be a part of a subscription and you're not using the subscription. So I was like, well, because I started using AnyPlay more often, I decided to join, resubscribe to Scribe, and then I'll have two audiobook ones that I can go to, because there's some books on AnyPlay, but then there's some books that aren't on there that I would like to listen to that Scribe has. So I'm like, well, let me do both. So I decided to pick this book back up like last year around this time, coincidentally, which is funny because when I look at like when I started it and I stopped it, I started this book in April of last year. And I put it down because I wasn't feeling it at that time. I was like, let me go back to it. So I decided to go back to this book. And so I ended up finishing this. First of all, let me say, this book was super overhyped. It was overhyped. It didn't need to be overhyped. BookTube tends to do this, where they overhype certain books that I feel like should not be overhyped. Especially because I don't consider this a romance. I'd say this is definitely more women's fiction than it is a romance. There is a romance in the book, but that's not the central plot of the story. The central plot of the story is, Calla is a Toronto resident. I think it's Toronto, in Canada. And her and her mother, have been there for years. She barely knows her dad. Her dad's kind of like been in and out of her life. And so she decides to go to Alaska to see her dad because her dad has lung cancer. So that's the main plot point of the story, is her getting to know her dad. And because she doesn't know how much time he has, like if they're able to do any treatment for her dad, or if it's terminal. My grandmother had gotten lung cancer. She smoked for years, so that's kind of like, more than likely, you getting lung cancer for smoking for how many years? It's a possibility, a high possibility. So she decides to go to Alaska to spend time with her dad. And on the way there, she ends up getting on a plane ride, and it's a small plane, with Jonah. Now, Jonah works for her father's airlines. He's a great pilot. And they don't really like each other. So I gave this book a 2. My reasons were this. So, like I said at the beginning, this is not a romance. This is definitely more women's fiction. I said there are sex scenes in this, but they are either fade to black or they're barely written on page. So I'd say if you're the type of person where you don't like the overly descriptive sex scenes, then you probably would like this book because, there's women's fiction out there that for women who like women's fiction, no shade to women who like women's fiction. I'm just not one of them. I'm not a fan. I prefer more descriptive sex scenes, it's more about the romance, less about, the women's journey kind of thing. So I first tried reading that book in 2022. So I felt like Calla is a yuppie hipster entitled judgmental spoiled brat who recently was let go from her job. She wasn't happy with her job anyways. Her true passion is getting a business going on social media. So her and her friend can create a brand for themselves. I just was like, I don't care about that stuff. So Kala and her mother have lived in Toronto for years, and Kala's father hasn't really talked to her since she was 14. Yeah, she definitely has daddy abandonment issues. There was a falling out between them. She was born in a small town in Alaska, and Kala's mother couldn't continue living that lifestyle, so she left her husband for more of a city lifestyle. But Kala does have a great stepdad who is a therapist, so he can talk to her about the issues she does have. So Kala gets a call from a woman in Alaska to let her know that her father has lung cancer. So Kala heads to Alaska to spend time with her dad and get to know him in case he doesn't beat the cancer. She ends up getting picked up by this grouchy bush pilot, and he takes her to her father. The things I didn't like was that I freaking hated Kala. As I said above, she was an entitled, spoiled brat who was judgmental towards everyone in that small town. She travels to Alaska in high heel wedges. Who, with common sense, thinks it's a smart idea to go to a state that has a lot of harsh weather and open-toed high heel wedges? She was a complete dumbass, and she also had a ton of luggage. I said, honey, you do not need all of that stuff just for a visit. Has no one ever heard of packing light and buying things you need once you're there? I said, I'm the only one who does this, So I'm like, why do you need to bring jewelry and makeup? So who are you trying to impress? And who needs $100 shirt? Because there's a scene in the book where they're trying to get to this area very quickly, and there's a lot of potholes. Now, if you live in a state where it gets a good amount of rain or a good amount of snow, you know all about potholes. You all know about potholes. That's what happens. You deal with a lot of potholes. The city's constantly patching up potholes. Any type of rain, any type of friction, cars going back and forth on a wet and not even concrete. It's, what's it? What is it called again? Asphalt or whatever it is. It's a different type of material. So concrete is definitely a stronger material. But I think the reason why they put down the, black tar, put down that stuff, is because in case you need to go into the pipes underneath, it's easier to get through those than it is to get through concrete. So things like that. So that's why I think they have created that type of, stuff. So they're driving quickly down this street. It's got potholes, so they're kind of bouncing back and forth. She's trying to put mascara on in the car. And I'm like, girl, why? Why? She ends up spilling thick coffee or whatever on her shirt. And she's like, this is $100 shirt. And he's like, why would you pay $100 for a shirt? And I'm like, yes, I'm with this guy. Why would you pay $100 for a t-shirt? You just make yourself look like a fool. So I didn't like that. And so she complains that she can't find a Starbucks and ends up going to the small shop there for coffee, even though she doesn't like the taste of coffee. Hence why Miss Bougie Ass only orders lattes at her local Starbucks. She says she doesn't like the taste of coffee. And I'm like, well, then why do you drink coffee if you don't like the taste of it? So, yeah. You do know soda has caffeine. You can go and drink a soda if you want to go and get that Jones from the caffeine, There's always that too. So once she's in the small store, she asks for a latte, and they say they don't make them. So she grudgingly orders a coffee, and then complains that she can't have milk because she's allergic. So she needs soy milk or almond milk or possibly cashew. Seriously, there is cashew milk out there, really? It's bad enough that there's oat milk. They have cashew milk. I've never seen cashew milk. It must be in those bougie, type of stores where, they have how many different things of milk. And none of it's cow milk. Now, none of it's cow titty milk. It's all like this other milk, So I said, I get that she's allergic to milk. A good amount of people out there are. But if there's no other alternative, you certainly can survive without the milk. Like you can go without milk in your coffee. You can go and just drink black coffee. Just a thought. So Jonah, understandably, is a bit bitter and hostile towards her. I completely understand his judgment on her. I said, I have no idea how these two even fell for each other. When they finally do get involved, it's past the 50% point. I did like the relationship between Calla and her father. I liked that they ended up that they did end up, with a better relationship. The relationship wasn't as strained. And this one here, like I said, I'm pretty sure this does not end on like a happy ending. Because it's like, yeah, they're not really like a couple at the end. And it's not until like this book here that they kind of get their happily ever after, which is the second book. And I'm not going to bother reading it because I did not like the heroine. So I ended up buying this book because I'm like, okay, so it's like a continuation on with her story. But since I didn't like this book, I doubt I'm going to like this one. And plus, like I said, I'm not a big fan of Calla. I want to say Calla. I'm not a fan of her. I really just think she's just a spoiled, rich brat. Like, there was a thing he had said in here. Let me see if I can find it. I had it before. Okay, right here. So she says, have I done something to make you not like me? I finally blurt out. He chuckles darkly. No, I just know you're kind and I've never had much patience for it. My kind? Yup. He slams shut the gate of his SUV and turns to settle a stony gaze on me, his muscular arms folded over his chest, the shallow, self-absorbed, entitled kind. This is her. My mouth hangs open for 3 beats. You don't know anything about me. Really? He bites his bottom lip in thought. Let's see. You show up in Anchorage with entire closets worth of clothes for a 1-week visit. Expecting what? A private jet to bring you the rest of the way? And looking like you mistook the airport for a fucking runway in Milan. I push aside the shock that he knows a thing about the fashion industry to defend himself. I had to pack for this moody weather. Were you going for a jog or a nightclub this morning with all that makeup on? I bet my left nut that no one's seen your real face in years. You spend all your money on looking pretty and all your time posting pictures to prove to complete strangers how pretty you are. It's true, like, you're making up your face, but you're going for a jog? Why are you making your face up? You're going to sweat off your makeup. That makes no sense to me. Just go for your jog. When you get done from jogging, you take a shower, and then make your face up if you want to. But why would you make your face up and then go jogging? That's counterproductive, in my opinion. So it says, my spine begins to tingle. Is he talking about my Instagram profile? How could he know about that? And oh my God, did he just make a reference to his balls? So some people take pride in their appearance. I give him a pointed look, even as my cheeks burn from being picked apart. He goes on as if I hadn't spoken. You're dramatic, entitled, and judgmental. You like attention and you're used to getting it. You don't know much about the world outside your little bubble. You didn't even bother educating yourself a little about where your dad's from, where you were born. It's not like I had much time. You're 26 years old and you've never had time? His eyebrows arched in that doubtful way. You decided you weren't gonna like Alaska before your toes ever touched the soil. And you've had your nose turned up to everyone and everything ever since. I have not. Agnes figured you might have a hard time up here, but you could at least try for a damn week. You haven't seen your father in basically your entire life, and when you finally show up here, you're pissed that the fridge isn't full for you? You probably haven't even considered how tough things have been on Ren, or how he might not know how to talk to you after this long, or what he's going through right now. But no, you're more focused on getting your fucking soy latte and what hostess gift you should bring to dinner tonight. He smiles smugly. How am I doing so far? Do I have it all wrong? And she goes, completely. So she tries to counter the argument. And I'm like, no, honey, he got you dead right. Dead to the right. I could not stand this woman. I could not stand her. 50% in the book is when they finally kind of turn things around. They start kind of being friendly with each other. And so she goes and she does something. I can't remember if she shaves a little bit of his beard or she cuts his hair. She does something where she tries to get back at him because he had her luggage for how many days and didn't say anything. Yeah, it's a dick move. He should have just said something, especially Miss Prissy Pants there really wanted her luggage. So it's just give her fucking luggage and shut her ass up. But he wanted to play games too, so there you go. Like I said, I don't consider this a romance. I consider this more women's fiction. And the author clearly wanted to write more of the story, hence why she created another book. So, yeah. I gave this a 2. I did not like it. I really freaking hated her. Really hated her. With the fire of 1,000 suns. I did not like her. And now I'm not going to be reading this one because I do not like the heroine. And I really don't want her to have a happy ending. I just don't care. I just don't care. He nailed it completely with his assessment of her. Nailed it completely. This woman still lived with her parents. She was 26. Still lived with her parents. Her mother did all the cooking. She didn't have to do anything. She just worked. Came home. And it's do you think of growing up a little bit, letting your, mom have some alone time with her husband? Grow up and get yourself a fucking apartment? You're 26, honey. You got a job. You got a career. I'm sure you've probably built up some, credit by now. So for me, I was no, she just seemed very spoiled and entitled. And her parents condone this, Her stupid parents condoned it. And her mother was a complete fucking idiot too, where she was getting all offended and be like, don't people realize you have a milk allergy? And it's honey, do you see cows up here? See cows? There's different areas in Alaska that things are going to cost a little bit more up there because it gets fucking cold as shit there. So there might be harder things to grow there, harder things to have there. So it's essentially trying to live in Antarctica. Not a lot of things are going to survive there. It is fucking cold. So it's a very harsh life there. I would assume up in Alaska they hunt a lot of moose. I would say moose and other types of wildlife, and they probably eat more stuff like that, more moose meat, things like that up there. Because those are the types of animals that can handle that type of weather. You gotta have things that can be that can survive up there. I don't know if cows can survive up in Alaska. Probably too cold for them. So they're not really breaking in like beef and milk. So, you know, I'm sure they got to import all that stuff. So, of course, soy milk, oat milk, almond milk, all that shit costs more than moo cow fuck milk, you know? So, if anybody knows what comedian said that, you get 2 points from me. But to me, I was like, I don't understand why this got hyped. I don't understand the hype to this. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I didn't like this. I ended up giving it 2. I really couldn't stand her. And, the other thing that kind of annoyed me, I was rolling my freaking eyes when I was listening to this. I was walking around my apartment, and they managed to find at the store, because it wasn't at the coffee area, but it was in the store, they had a almond milk. They did have an almond milk. And Jonah even told them, I'll pay for it. Just make her coffee. I'll pay for the almond milk. And when the woman showed Kala the almond milk, she was like, oh, you don't have silk? Yeah, I rolled my fucking eyes at that so hard. I thought my eyes were going to stay up in my head. I rolled my eyes so fucking hard at that. I'm like, are you kidding me, lady? They managed to find almond milk, and you don't like the fucking brand? Because it tastes like chalk. Oh my God, then fucking drink the coffee black. This is what happens when you get stupid people too comfortable in an area. When you go and you put them in an area that they're not so acclimated to, they act entitled and spoiled and whine constantly. It's like taking your kid's tablet away when they've had it all day. They act like little children. They whine, they cry. I want my tablet back. So to me, it's like she acted like a fucking child. And I can't stand heroines that act that way. That act like a fucking child. This woman is like fucking 26 and acts like she's 12. There was a 12-year-old in here. The 12-year-old acted more mature than her. So yeah, don't get the hype. And it was hilarious reading some of the reviews that were like, Jonah was so mean to her. He was so mean to her. I'm like, oh no, he was dead on with his assessment of her. Dead fucking on. She was an entitled little bitch. And I honestly do not get what he saw in her. I'm like, dude, really? You're going to date that? You're going to date Miss Prissy Pants? Okay, yeah, you're dumb. You're really dumb. You're looking, you really want to get laid, don't you? Man. Yeah, she, I just don't believe the love. I don't believe it. I don't believe the couple. I don't believe that they're going to survive long term because they're way too different. You know, they're way far apart, you know. They are way far apart on, their connection. She needs to be with some fucking yuppie fucking dork, you know, some preppy yuppie fucking dude in a shirt and tie. She needs to be with that fucking type of dude, you know. I will happily take Jonah, who's a little bit of an asshole, but you know what? I don't know. I like the burly men. I like the men who look like men. So, yeah, that's what I like. Anyways. Okay, so the next book I'm going to talk about is a DNF. Now, I didn't think there was anything wrong with this story. I just wasn't feeling it. Now, this one here, I'm trying to delve more into. I am all of a sudden cold in here. I don't know why. I am trying to delve into some like cozy mysteries, things like that. Try to open up my horizons a little bit. And, you know, some of these cozy mysteries, they usually have like, you know, revolve around like a little bit of a romance, but not quite. Like, the main focus of the story is the mystery behind, you know, what's happening. And then it'll talk about like other things too. This one here, this one here is, I thought it was really cool looking. So it was like Death by Dumpling by Vivian, I think it's Chien. This one here, it sounded interesting because you have this character of, I think her name is Lana, where she was recently unemployed. I think she quit her job. She wasn't happy in her job, and so she decided to go and work for her parents. They own this Chinese restaurant in the shopping center in Ohio. It's kind of like, probably like what everyone's version of, like maybe like Chinatown or something like that, where, you know, you have like a bunch of Asian stores all centered in this shopping center. And so Lana works at the restaurant as a waitress. And there's this guy who, he's partial owner. I think him and this other guy own the shopping center. And so one day Lana goes and drops off his food, and he pretty much like eats at the restaurant like every day, I think it is. It's either every day or every week or something like that. And I think it's Mr. Fang. And Mr. Fang ends up turning up dead. And it looks like he ate their food, and it had like shellfish in it. Now he has a huge shellfish allergy, and so now the suspicion is on Lana because she delivered the food. It's also on Peter, who cooked the food. Peter is a character where he's been working for the family since he was like 18, and so the suspicion is on him too. Then you have other characters that are kind of suspicious, and you're like, okay, they could be potentially involved. His business partner for one could be involved, because it's like, you know, if there was something going on with them, you know, there you go. So business partner could be involved. There was some other people who really just didn't like Mr. Fang because they were essentially upping the rent like 15%. And for some of them, that's a struggle. So Lana decided to go and try to investigate who could have killed Mr. Fang. And so throughout the story, it's like her, you know, talking with other people in the community, you know, in their, you know, like Chinese community and stuff like that. And it's basically like this person's whispering, that person's whispering. So it's kind of like you don't know who's involved. There's so many people who are like whispering and talking about it. And so for me, it was a lot of people. It was a lot of people that I'm like trying to pay attention to. And I'm like, okay, the main focal point is Lana. She's the narrator of the story. Then you got her parents. Then there's other people talking. And it's like, well, who could be involved? I was like 2 hours into the book, and I'm just like, I cannot pay attention to this. I was having a hard time paying attention to it. So unfortunately, I had to DNF it. I'm not sure if I'm going to pick it back up and try to read it another time. It wasn't bad, but I think it was probably like, I think if I finished the book, I probably would have gave it a 3. So it was okay, but I just was like, I don't know. I just can't like get into this. Like this month, I wouldn't say that I'm having a I wouldn't say that I'm having a, what's the term again? Where I'm kind of like in a reading slump. I don't know if I'd necessarily say I'm in a reading slump, but I've been really not, you know, different books that I'm kind of going into, I'm either DNFing or I'm just not really into them. So yeah, I'm just really like getting through like some books like really, really slowly. And I just like, oh man, I'm just not having a great reading month. I'm also like trying to read other things that are not romance, centered. So that way I can do that stuff for my secondary channel. So right now I'm listening to a thriller, and I will go and post. It's a paranormal thriller. I will post about that on my secondary channel. You can find my secondary channel in my link tree. If you click on it, it'll lead you right to my secondary channel. So if you want to check that out. But I'd rather just keep, like all my romances, like anything that's a romance or cozy mystery type of thing, I'll leave them on the romance channel, like this one here. But anything that's like a thriller book or a horror book or anything like that, I'd rather go and keep it on the secondary channel. Because I know there's going to be people who discover me through maybe my thriller or horror books, but they don't want to go and watch my romance reviews. And I know there are people who like when I talk about romance here, and then they don't want to, hear my thriller and horror reviews. So I'd rather keep those channels separate, So that's what I have so far. I'm just really, I don't know, it's not a good month for me. I'm just not finding, I'm not finding like stuff that I could really sink my teeth into. So I'm hoping this thriller that I'm currently listening to is good, and it's kind of like, because I have liked a book previously from the author, so I'm hoping that I like this book, and I kind of like ghost stories and stuff too, so I'm hoping I like that one. And I am just trying to get through some other books. I don't know if maybe I will delve into some other books from authors that I know, and kind of like if I'll get through those books quicker. I don't know. But I'm not having like a really great reading month. Yeah. It started off kind of really slow this month, and then I'm trying to like catch up, and it's not going like that great for me. So for me, it's like, look, everybody has like their own speed on like reading and stuff like that. For my other booktubers and all that stuff out there, don't feel like you have to like rush to like finish how many books within the mid-month or the end of the month. If you got like other things that are happening in your life and you can't always get to like, how many books, it's okay. It's okay. So right now I'm just trying to find something that I can really sink my teeth into and really enjoy, and so this month it's just really kind of slow. So yeah, disappointing. I really wanted to, every month I've always like want to have a good month, a good reading month. This one here, unfortunately, is just, it's a little sluggish, So yeah, anyways, that's it for this one here. I am going to still try reading more cozy mysteries and see if I can get into like an author that I really enjoy. So I'm going to keep trying. Someone who's a booktuber did give me a recommendation for an author, so I want to delve into those ones and see. But yeah, that's it for right now. Hopefully the rest of the month will be better for me, and I will have more books to talk about. So yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other, and I will see you all on the next video. All right, bye.